Hello everyone and welcome back to the EDH Jank Center, your source for everything Commander and everything Jank. I am your host Jordan and/or Prairies, you can call me either, and today we're sleeping. We're talking about sleep. We're the most slept on cards. We're talking about the most slept on cards. Today we are listing 10 cards that I think are just super under the radar, and also they're all under $1. Yes, that's correct. We're going to be really balling on a budget here today and helping you guys out. So follow along and see which ones you guys would like to add to your decks. To get this list started off, we have the one, the only, Fogbank, baby! Fogbank is 1 and a blue creature wall, originally from Urza's Saga. It has Defender and Flying. Prevent all combat damage that will be dealt to and dealt by Fogbank. It's a 0/2. So this is one of the first NPG cards I was ever made aware of when my playgroup and I just started first playing Magic together, and we had so many memes about this card. It just went on and on for days. But not only is it meme-worthy, it's just genuinely a really solid card. For a 2-drop, it's a great defense in the early game for any attackers that people are swinging at you. It prevents all combat damage, which means Death Touch does not work against it, nor does Lifelink, and that's pretty solid already. It's got Flying, so it defends against those pesky Angel tokens. This thing blocks everything from 1/1 Squirrels to 15/15 Eldrazi's. It's just a house. Opponents who are trying to get in for damage early in the game just won't point stuff at you if they know that they're not going to get the damage in, so they'll just spend their time swinging at other people, and you get to continue setting up whatever it is that you're setting up behind this big, giant, cute wall of fog. This card genuinely gets a consideration of mine. If any of my decks start running blue, I immediately put this in the probably pile, and more often than not it ends up in the deck because I just think it's really good. Also, bonus points to anyone who can, and this is a personal dream of mine, create a bunch of copies of Fogbank and have like 1,000,000 Fogbanks on the field at one time. That would just be absolutely fantastic. But for now, I'm gonna stick with the one, and at 25 cents, I think you guys should too. Next up, we have Leyline Prowler 1, Golgari, which is black and green. Creature, Nightmare Beast from War of the Spark, Death Touch and Lifelink. Tap to add 1 mana of any color, and it's a 2/3. Are there better mana rocks? Yes, but this is the Jank Center, so let's throw that idea away automatically. This card, objectively, is very, very solid. It's got Death Touch. It's got Lifelink. It's a 2/3. It taps for mana. What else do you want? You can swing this at people for early damage and early life gain, or you can tap it for more mana. And yes, because it's a creature and it doesn't have haste, you will have to wait a whole turn cycle to tap it for mana. However, while it's untapped and waiting for your next turn, it deters people from attacking you because it has Death Touch on it. And now that I'm thinking about it, this actually works as like another Fogbank type effect, where the Death Touch on it will prevent people or deter people from attacking you, leaving you to be able to set up any of your combos or whatever your strategy, whatever it is, you can set up behind this barrier of Death Touch that our boy here provides. I genuinely can't tell you how many times in a game I haven't attacked someone just because I didn't want to lose my one creature that I knew they'd block with their Death Toucher. And for that reason alone, I think this is just a solid include in most decks that run black and green. And at 14 cents, dude, come on. I mean, that's a pretty good deal to me. Anyways, let's move on. At number 3, I suppose I'm just a fan of walls. It's Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort, 2 in a red creature wall from Zendikar Rising. Defender, Reach. Creatures you control have haste, and it's a 0/3. 5 cents, bro. It's literally 5 cents, and this card does so much for that amount of money. I love it. I love it. Any deck that wants its creatures to come in and attack right away, this should go in the deck. Alongside your Perforoses, alongside any other haste enablers you may have. This also acts as a creature with reach that can block flying creatures. I just think it's a really good include. It's 5 cents, guys. It's 5 cents. Also, bonus points if you do something stupid to it, like give it indestructible with like Tyrite Sanctum or something. I don't know. Let me know what stupid things you guys like to do to your cards in the comments. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna go to the next card. We're looking at Congregate next, 3 in a white instant from Urza's Saga. Target player gains 2 life for each creature in play. This is something I will genuinely include in every deck that I make that wants to make tokens that runs white, and I think you should too. It's just so solid at instant speed. 4 mana is genuinely not too much to ask for in most Magic games, I think, especially late in the game when most people have gotten all their mana rocks out and we're all flush with mana. You gain 2 life for each creature in play. Just a little simple math. If there are 10 creatures on the board, spread out amongst 4 or 3 or 2 of you, however many, you gain 20 life you will gain 20 life. That can literally swing the tide of the game in your favor in an instant. And that instant speed makes it just so much more potent. If an opponent doesn't like your board state, you're running a token deck, you've gone wide, you're very threatening, and they cast a board wipe that you can't counter, you kind of technically can pseudo counter it with this. You cast this in response to the board wipe. With the board wipe on the stack, this goes above it on the stack. This resolves first. You gain all the life, all the value you can glean from all these creatures that are on the field. Then the board wipe resolves, and you end up leaving with a lot more life than you started with, which can then give you the time you need to rebuild that super dope Selesnya token board you just built. All right, if that didn't convince you, I don't know what will. Let's move on, shall we? Next card is Jaheira's Respite. 4 and a green instant from Battle for Baldur's Gate. Search your library for up to X basic land cards, where X is the number of creatures attacking you. Put those cards onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn. Now, if you're no stranger to the channel, you know I've already talked about this card. I really think this is underrated. 5 mana for some players is going to be a bit too hefty, but for what it does, I think this is well worth it. When I saw this card, I thought mid to late game, everyone's got their board set up, and maybe you're lagging behind, someone swings out at you with, 5 creatures. You can play this card, get 5 lands for your next turn, and prevent all that combat damage that you would be taking from those creatures. Or in a game-ending scenario, someone's swinging out at you with their full board, and you can cast this, prevent all the combat damage, you fog it, then you get to go search for a ton of lands that can then ramp you on your next turn, and hopefully you'll be able to swing the game in your favor. I think this is just a really cool and underrated card, and it's a fun alternative to fog. Okay, so this is a little disclaimer. At the time that I made this list, this card that's coming up next was under $1, but now it has shot up in price. We're still going to commit to it though, because I think it's very underrated and still worth an include. It's Batwing Broom. 1 white or black instant from Eventide. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt this turn if white was spent to play Batwing Broom. Each attacking player loses 1 life for each attacking creature he or she controls. If black was spent to play Batwing Broom, do both if both were spent. So this card is the third part of the trifecta of the last 3 cards, because it's also an instant that does really amazing in the late game. So all you gotta do is spend 1 white and 1 black mana, and you get to prevent all combat damage this turn and make the player that's attacking you lose 1 life for each attacking creature he or she controls. That's tight. That's spicy. Look at this. You could literally win the game. If someone's attacking you, if it's 1-on-1 and someone's attacking you, you can just cast this for 2 mana, prevent all the combat damage, and then they lose all their life. Play this against any token player and you will lose friends for sure, but in a good way. And while it is over our limit of being under $1, it is only 38 cents over at the time of making this video, so I think it's still worth an include. And if you're like me, you don't mind spending that extra like 20 to 30 cents if it's something you really want. So this next card was brought to my attention by a dear friend of mine, Kenneth. Shouts out to Kenneth, he's the best. It's Diplomatic Immunity, 1 and a blue, enchant creature from Mercadian Masks. Enchanted creature can't be the targets of spells or abilities. Diplomatic Immunity can't be the targets of spells or abilities. So most notably and most infamously, Kenneth uses this in his Urza Lord High Artificer deck to smash our faces regularly and consistently. So notably, this gives the creature Shroud, but the enchantment itself, the aura itself, also has Shroud. This means that you can't enchant, equip, target your creature with anything else after you put Diplomatic Immunity on it. However, that works when you're just trying to protect something that's your engine, essentially, your essential thing for your strategy. Now, it's not as good as Hexproof. Shroud says you can't be the target of spells or abilities. Hexproof says you can't be the target of spells or abilities your opponents control. It still allows you to target things of your own. But if that were the case, if this card had Hexproof and gave the creature Hexproof, this would be like $10 million. So that's why this card is on the Jank Center, because it gives Shroud, but it's still so solid. So solid. That was nice. All right, moving on. We've got Kitsune Healer, 3 and a white creature, Fox Cleric from Saviors of Kamigawa. You can tap, prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn, or tap, prevent all damage that would be dealt to target legendary creature this turn, and it's a 2/2. So this is a very sneakily good card in my opinion. I run it in my Evra Halcyon Witness deck, which I will do a deck tech on that at some point in time. I really love that deck. But I think this is exceptionally good in any sort of Voltron build where you're swinging with your commander, you're suiting it up with a bunch of equipment, a bunch of auras, +1/+1 counters even, and you're supposed to be attacking people. We all know that to attack in Commander means you run the risk of your creature dying. However, Kitsune Healer here comes in super clutch and can just tap at instant speed to prevent all the damage that would be dealt to target legendary creature this turn, and bonus points if you can have haste so that Kitsune Healer can tap as soon as it comes in. Second to last, we got Riot Control, 2 and a white instant from... Wait, what is that? Wait, what is it? Dragon's Maze, that's it. Sorry. Okay, let's go. You gain 1 life for each creature your opponents control. Prevent all damage that will be dealt to you this turn. And this flavor text is fire too. Ravnikins need order. If they don't have it, we shall bring it to them. Fire. Absolute fire. And this is another Congregate, Jaheira's Respite, Batwing Broom, another way to prevent all combat damage that's really, really fun and effective and not just a fog. This gains you life. It prevents all the combat damage that will be dealt to you this turn. If your opponents have a bunch of creatures, then you get to gain a bunch of life. And at the end of the day, who doesn't love gaining life? It's that simple. Let's go. Moving on. So apparently I did this list as like dope instant tribal, because next up in our last card today we have Tower Defense, 1 and a green instant from Gatewatch. Creatures you control get +0/+5 and gain reach until end of turn. I used to run this in an old Kethis, the Hidden Hand Planeswalker deck, where the idea was to create a bunch of tokens with the Planeswalkers to protect those Planeswalkers. However, a lot of those tokens don't have flying, and I wanted a way to be able to protect against flying creatures, because people were just flying over my tokens and sniping my Planeswalkers anyways. And so then I found this card, and I was like, oh my god, this is literally so cheap, the mana and the money, and it gives all my creatures reach, and that buff with their toughness really does prevent a lot of their deaths, and they end up staying around and being able to swing at people when the game is coming to a close. If you want to protect something, whether that be your life total or a bunch of Planeswalkers that are really dope, I'd suggest putting this card in your deck. It's honestly really fun, and look at that artwork. It's pretty sick. All right, we have reached the end yet again to another video. Thank you all so much for sticking around and watching. I hope you got some really dope ideas for upgrades for your decks. I know it ended up being instant tribal, but next time, hopefully I'll make it a bit more varied. If you liked this content, make sure you give it a like, subscribe, and comment down below what you think are the most slept on cards. Maybe I'll include them in the next video. Last but not least, make sure you hit up the Instagram, link in the description. I'm posting cards there daily and talking about them, so make sure you're hitting that up. And also, I have a Patreon. The link is in the description. It's lots of cool benefits for patrons, and honestly, all the help helps me make more content like this for you guys. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.